Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Hexodius. This is a game brought to you by Brain Slap, and it is published by Namco Bandai. It's an arena shooter, for the most part, sci-fi arena shooter. It's got some interesting little quirks to it here and there, so we'll go into it and have a look and see what's going on. So, first things first, let's check out the options menu. Not a huge amount available here. Now, this is the time when I tell you about something that could potentially be a game-crippling bug that I've encountered. I'm not the only one to do it either, it seems. Actually, quite a few people have encountered this particular problem. So, it starts at 720p resolution. Not ideal. You have to restart in order to get it to a different resolution like 1080p, which is why this video is in 720p. You might say, well, TotalBiscuit, why didn't you just change the resolution and restart and then make the video? The reason is because for some reason, if you do that, more often than not, it doesn't detect your graphics card. It says it can't find your graphics device or whatever and refuses to load. This is not a problem that I am exclusively having. There are threads on the community hub about it. This appears to apply to both the demo and to the actual game itself. Now, I found the way to fix this, or at least go back to it, was to verify the integrity of the game cache in Steam, but that resets it back to 720p, which is not ideal. So currently, the game has a bug whereby it might not even load. Yes, that's a black mark. If I hear about it being fixed, I will add an annotation on the screen right now that says it's been fixed. So make sure you've got your annotations on. Aside from that, the game does have a demo on Steam, so you can try it for yourself and see whether or not you've actually suffered that problem with it. So aside from that, you do have fully rebindable controls, which is always nice. I'm using keyboard and mouse. It recommends a 360 pad. I would not say that it needs one. It's a pretty standard twin-stick shooter scenario, whereby if you want very precise movement control over your aircraft or ship or whatever the balls it is, then you will want to use an analog stick. Otherwise, you will be forced to use one of 8 directions with WASD, as you can see there. Aside from that, though, you get the mouse aiming, which is actually better. It also gives you a nice little kind of laser pointer when the mouse is on to help you with the aiming. Makes you a lot more accurate, in my honest opinion. Plus, since you rebind it, it's all fine. So, as long as you're okay with a kind of clunky ship movement that results from only having 8 directions available rather than the precision of an analog stick, you should be totally fine with it. The game does not have multiplayer, it does have leaderboards, it is primarily a story-based game, it also has an arcade mode, so that's rock and roll. Now, I did say story-based game. There is a story, not exactly the strongest ever. As you can see by the loading time there, I beat the first world in about 38 minutes. I played a little bit of the arcade as well, so I've done about an hour of this game so far. Now, where am I? What's going on? Well, it's called Hexodius, and the actual levels themselves are based around hexes. Each of these hexes has a different challenge in it. All of these hexes can be used to do different things. So, I want to get access to that cash shop over there, so I'm going to take on this level. Okay. Now, when you do that, you go into a loadout screen. That enables you to equip up to 4 weapons, as well as 3 passive upgrades. In this case, I do have some stuff. Could put my EMP wave on there. You can also customize the unlock order of the weapons, which is quite useful. I imagine once you get into much more difficult levels, you'll want to customize it so you get a particular weapon earlier than the others. These are all cooldown-based weapons. There are also heat-based weapons that can overheat, and then you have to wait for them to cool down as well. 3 passive upgrades there. I've got Energy Magnet, brings in energy sparks there, Fast Shot, and Big Caliber. So fires through enemies, bigger bullet, so on and so forth. This customization is quite nice, and there seems to be an awful lot of it. You are pretty limited in what you can do because there are only 3 passive slots and 4 weapon slots, but there are a lot of things available in the cash shop. So, let's get into it and show you what's going on. Now, I did say a twin-stick arena shooter. I was certainly not kidding. It is very much that, and you will see why momentarily. Alright. So, it's about shooting stuff, and generally that means holding down the left mouse button until everything dies horribly, unless you decide that you really, really want to use a 360 controller, which is fine. Again, you know, it's a twin-stick shooter. It's going to work very well indeed with a 360 controller, but it works fine with mouse and keyboard as well, and I personally find the aiming a lot easier with the mouse, especially considering it shows you where the attack's actually going to go. Not really sure why they didn't put that on the twin-stick. That actually would have been possible, at least in terms of the little laser pointer thing that's going on there. Alright, so you have 5 lives, which are represented by the little nuts up to the top left-hand corner there, and as you kill more enemies, you will unlock more of the weapons in your loadout. And I wasn't paying attention there, so I ended up losing a life almost immediately, which is kind of terrible. So, these weapons, as I was talking about, can be deployed Oh, there we go. And put down a turret there, so that's going to kill everything that comes out of there. And the whole point of each mission is to survive to the end for the most part and do the objectives. They're not all just sticking you in an arena and throwing wave upon wave of enemies at you, although a lot of the missions are. There are a couple of different ones, including destroy the generators in the given time. There's defense missions. There's these bonus missions which involve you playing this little robot which has to go through a maze of lasers in order to collect credit containers, which is actually quite fun. In fact, that's probably the most fun that I've had with the game thus far. Alright. And there are, of course, a variety of different enemy types available. And this is what the game is, essentially. It's traveling through those hexes, trying to find items, trying to find different kinds of arena to fight in, buying upgrades, and so on and so forth. Now, the thing about it is that the two parts of the game are that hex-based movement and the actual arena combat. Now, the arena combat... Oh, God, I let myself be hit. That's actually embarrassing. The arena combat is pretty bog standard in the sense that you've got those cooldown-based weapons, and then you've got one main gun, which can be upgraded. Yeah? And the main gun is possibly the least satisfying weapon to use I've ever seen. And it has pretty terrible sound assets associated with it, which doesn't really help. And it's just a tiny little laser that really isn't particularly high caliber, and it doesn't really have a satisfying effect. Now, I imagine you can, once you get further on into the game, you will be able to customize that more heavily. I do have 1,000 gold here, so let's see what we can do. Quick reload. Might be useful. Fast unlock there as well. Let's get a dodge maneuver. I think a flamethrower sounds like it might be fun. Actually uses a heating system there, as you can see. So yeah, let's buy the flamethrower. Anything passive we want to buy? Not really. I think I've got really what I need in order to make that work, so that should be fine. And then you've got, outside of the arena shooting, you've got this kind of hex-based exploration thing going on, whereby your lives are actually persistent. I've still only got 3 lives left. You can get them back at checkpoints. You can use them once for free, and then you have to pay in order to make that happen. There's also the collection of keys, which allow you to get to different hexes on the grid. There's some secrets hidden around the place here and there. And you know, that part of the game's actually quite interesting, if I'm totally honest. I'm going to get the flamethrower first, because that's just how I roll. There we go. So the flamethrower is going to be on the spacebar. Good to know. And then you've got this, which is, for the most part, pretty much bog-standard arena shooting. And that's unfortunate, really, because I think that the hex-based exploration... Try that again. Exploration is not a real word. Hex-based exploration is actually pretty interesting. It's a nice little kind of spin on the genre. The problem is, it's, in my opinion anyway, it's not actually enough just to flat-out carry the game and say, yeah, you know, this is a really, really fun game because this is there. It's a nice feature, but I think the arena shooting's got to be a lot stronger, and it's not. It just flat-out isn't. It's serviceable at best. I don't have any problems specifically with it. Like, it's not bad. It's just, it's not great either. And that's a real concern. I think it would need more, whether it be actual legitimate pickups within the level, whether it be a wider selection of weapons available just as your primary fire. I mean, enemy variety-wise, it's got a decent amount going for it. And what I will say is all of the levels don't really outstay their welcome, because they're all actually quite quick, which is pretty interesting. I'm going to scan the level now to see if we can find anything in particular. Alright, so there's a couple of secrets hidden. I'm going to take the teleporter, which will take me up to the top here. You know, and I like this little maze aspect going on here. That's actually pretty neat. There we go, get ourselves a repair. We'll go into a defense mission. Apparently there's going to be an item pickup here as well, which is always nice. All of this stuff is good, but it's still an arena shooter one way or the other, and there's no real getting around that. Not at all. Okay, is it just going to let me go into the mission? There we go, I had to press enter in order to make that happen, I guess. Alright, so I'm going to have to defend my little robot friend. That shouldn't be too difficult to do. It's not especially difficult. Like, it's not particularly challenging, at least not in the first world. I imagine it cranks up a little bit more later on. I never really run into a situation where I've just, like, outright died. But I do run into situations where I don't pay attention. I do get hit from time to time. And you can't keep getting hit, because if you do, then you're going to run into some nasty situations where you have to keep spending money in order to get lives back and so on and so forth. Otherwise, you'll be forced to try the level again. I think it would be nice maybe if there were a few more consequences to that, because I think it's an interesting little system to have persistent lives, but it's not all that well implemented to the point where it doesn't really matter in any way, because you can just restart the mission and try it again instead of having to go back and really be punished for losing those lives there. I don't know how intense you'd really want to make that. How much would you want to make that matter? How far can you really go without... Oh, god damn it, I wasn't paying attention again. How far can you really go without getting into a situation where it just annoys people that have to consistently replay stuff? Speaking of replay stuff, while I say the levels don't outstay their welcome, there's an awful lot of them that reuse exactly the same terrain over and over again. The entire world uses the same tile set. You know, that should be fairly obvious, but more to the point, it's the fact that you just end up in these same arenas. Like, oh, I was in here last time and it was pretty much exactly the same. Only this time around they actually put a few different... Ooh, there we go. They actually ended up putting a few different enemies in this time, which is not all that great. I mean, even if you do speckle the game with some variety in terms of the objectives, and there is some of that, there's actually quite a significant amount of it, you still can't really get over the fact that you're playing in these same basic arenas. Now, if I were to compare that to something like, say, Assault Android Cactus, where it's got arenas that randomly change and morph as you're playing through, not only does that provide a bigger challenge, but it also ups the variety stakes somewhat. And as I said, even on World 2, this is not a particularly difficult game. I like the fact that the missions are a little bit short. You can dabble in them. You could just do a few missions on your lunch break or whatever. But even then, they are pretty short and pretty easy. Surprisingly so. Even losing lives, even if you lose a couple of lives on a level, you can still actually get the maximum rank, which is actually kind of surprising. Let's work on this generator right now. And let's be honest, some of these generator missions where you're just sitting here holding the left mouse button down are not really all that interesting to do. As much as I wish that they were. Should still be paying attention, though. You could still make plenty of mistakes here and there, but you're not, generally speaking, punished all that much for doing so. Alright, you know, it would be really nice if I actually got some damn unlocks. Well, what the hell's going on with that one? There we go. Just as I'm saying that, this is going to be the mission that kicks my ass. Since I didn't get any health back, that was probably a pretty heavy mistake on my part. Let's try and finish off this generator. I want to take the turret out in the process as well, actually. Well, if I take one more hit, then I will fail this mission, and I will be hoisted by my own petard, as it were. Like, hey, you know what? You shouldn't be saying stuff like that, because it will make you look like an ass. Such is the way of things. That's a little bastard dragonfly thingy. Alright. I'll get rid of you. Thank you very much. It's throwing bloody seeds at me. Screw that. There we go. Generator is down. Teleporter has been activated, and I lost anyway. Oh, should have seen that one coming. Should have never said, oh yeah, it's getting a little bit easy, guys, and then just get completely obliterated. Yeah, I am bad. I am super bad. You would have thought I'd have learned by now. Nope, not at all. But it's a shame that I suppose the arena shooting just isn't as interesting as it could be. It's a decent looking game. It's definitely not exceptional, but it's clean. It's graphically quite nice, and I actually like the music as well. The music is really, really good. The problem is there's not enough of it. Like, and I went through an entire world where it was the same music track over and over again outside of the special stage. And the special stage music was actually some of the best chiptune music I've heard in a while, so why don't I shut up for a little bit and let you hear it. Oh, big surprise. When I'm not commentating, I actually pay attention, but there you go. But yeah, the chiptune music is pretty good. That certainly wasn't the best track from their track list, but, you know, it's not bad. But that's kind of how I would describe the game outside of the hex-based system, which is interesting and not something I've really seen all that much before. But it's just the arena combat is just so bog standard in pretty much every way. It's everything outside of the arena combat that's interesting. The unlock order, the loadout system that's available within the game, the exploration aspect, and then as soon as you get into the actual arenas themselves, it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I guess this is okay, but it's... Everything else had some interesting ideas, and then the arena has no interesting ideas at all, really. It is just exactly what you would expect there. And is the outside customization enough to actually deal with the fact that the internal combat, the main meat of the game where you're spending most of your time, isn't actually all that great? Serviceable, yes. Reasonably enjoyable in small doses, yes. Super enjoyable all the time and really interesting, no. For a wide variety of different reasons, including the obvious, the fact that they do reuse the levels and the tile sets way, way too much, and the fact that there's just not an awful lot going on, really. It's just avoid the bullets, hold the button down, kill everything, and so on and so forth. It's kind of a shame. Wasted opportunity, I think. There could have been an awful lot more going on there. More pickups, more weapons, more enemy variety, just a few more maybe sub-objectives within the mission. You do have these sort of achievement-type things, which will give you bonus score by the end, but the game never tells you what they are or how you actually get them most of the time. So that's not exactly ideal. Let's get the turret down. There we go. And it just ends up outstaying its welcome after a while, and the whole grind for unlocks and getting different abilities and stuff really isn't all that great, especially considering the fact that you can fill up all of your slots within about an hour of play. So I have to imagine they just have some heavier upgrades later on in the game, which cost an awful lot more, but... And again, it's not that hard. I didn't really play all that well there, but I still got an A rank, so... It's a promising first start. It has some interesting ideas, and I think that if you're big into twin-stick shooting, then maybe you want to give it a try. At the end of the day, the demo is available, so you can try it out. It's just, I feel that the rest of the game is let down by the main component of the actual game itself. Not ideal, is it? Yeah? You want your combat to be really fun and enjoyable, and it's just not. It's serviceable. It's par the course. I would definitely want to see more, but there you go, folks. Hexodius, currently available on Steam for $10 or your regional equivalent. There is also a demo available. You'll find that on the Steam page. My name has been TotalBiscuit. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.